Massive news in the crypto world today with PumpFun officially announcing their token, which is set to go live in a few days' time. And in my opinion, this is going to have big downstream effects on the altcoin market. So I wanted to come on here and give you my full thoughts as to how I think it affects altcoins, so you are fully prepared if you do see some weird price action in a few days' time. I'm also going to run through whether I think the Pump token is actually a good buy, because there is an ICO. So the way for you to get access to the Pump token is going to be through their ICO at a $4 billion FDV. If you buy in, you're going to get access to the tokens on TGE. I want to discuss whether this is actually something that you should put your money towards, and if not, what is the better strategy for playing the PumpFun token at launch. We've seen many people talk about actually how they're going to short the token on launch. I'm going to talk about whether that's an option and go through some game theory as to what I think will happen with the token and your best practice when it comes to the token. Just to put this in context, this is going to be one of the biggest ICOs of all time. I think it's on track with the $600 million raise to be the third biggest ICO in crypto history, which is absolutely massive, coming in the list there just after Ethereum. So it's quite a big moment for crypto, and PumpFun is obviously the protocol which has made the most revenue out of any dApp in crypto, with over $700 million in fees over the past year, as obviously many of the major meme coins in the crypto market, like WIF and many others, countless other meme coins from that whole meme coin casino era, actually launching on PumpFun. So it is a very big moment for crypto, but I want to make sure you guys are fully prepared. So without further ado, let's get into the video. And if you enjoy these market updates, make sure you do smash the subscribe button and turn the post notification bell on. I wasn't actually going to make a show today, but when I saw this announcement, I thought that I had to, and then I started going through the math and making some models for you guys and going deep into the game theory, and I realized there actually could be some opportunities here, and I wanted to get ahead of the curve here for you guys. So what do you need to know firstly about the PumpFun token launch? Well, they're launching an initial coin offering on Saturday, July 12th. They're also teasing an airdrop. The airdrop's not going to be on day one. It's probably going to happen weeks or months later, probably to incentivize people that interact with the platform or have interacted with the platform in the past. I'm sure many of you have. Going to be interesting to see how they actually do that airdrop distribution, but the airdrop probably won't be happening on day one. What is happening on the 12th of July is the ICO, which you can participate in at that $4 billion valuation. Now, taking a look at the token distribution, we see the team allocation is here at the 20% mark. There's been a lot of discourse and a lot of hate towards PumpFun for doing this, considering the fact that they already made $700 million plus in fees. People are wondering why they need such a heavy-handed team and early investor allocation carved out here. As you can see in front of you, over 50% of the tokens are going to be going live on day one, circulating. You can see the team allocation, 20%, community and ecosystem initiatives, 24%, existing investors, 13%. There is a cliff before the team unlocks of 1 year, so just keep that in mind, as well as a lot of the existing and early investors. But the initial coin offering is going to unlock 33% of the supply on day one. The foundation gets some, they have an ecosystem fund. So there are tokens coming into circulation in the initial days of the launch. It is quite a heavy-handed team allocation, in my opinion, considering how much they've already made, which has obviously led to accusations of, being extractionary. I honestly don't think these are accusations. I think this is just the reality. If you're going to do, a massive TGE, as the revenue of the platform is starting to drop off and applications like PumpFun are starting to take over, you can definitely see how this paints a picture for this to be extractionary. And you could see, many tweets today, like Unc Jaws here saying, I was against Bonk Eco because I dislike forks, but already seeing how the PumpFun team is giving themselves 20% supply after already extracting 700 million and not giving a penny back. I hope Bonk kills them. Runner coming out here saying, I've never seen more of a scam team than PumpFun ever. So it's clearly a very hated token in the market, which actually could set it up for a hated rally. Many of these coins that launch and aren't very liked by the market sometimes can go on big runs. That's something we are going to discuss. But clearly, just based on the feedback and based on, just the general Discord on X, people aren't the biggest fan of this. And, it does make sense, I think, just after, I guess most people, if you just look at the probabilities and you look at the stats, lost money on PumpFun, it makes sense that people aren't that happy about the PumpFun token and, questioning why it's needed. But it's crypto. Half the stuff in this space isn't needed. This is just what we're dealing with. So we have to trade accordingly and look at the ramifications on the market, which I'm going to discuss in a minute here, because I do think it could impact altcoins. So just in terms of timing, at 2 p.m. on Saturday UTC time, July 12th, you can start participating in the ICO. And then on July 15th, which is Tuesday, whatever comes first, the token sale, which I think will be the case, or that deadline will trigger the end of the ICO. Then shortly after, between 24 to 72 hours, they're saying the tokens are going to go live onto the market. So people will start receiving airdrop distributions. That's basically how the launch is going to work. So we should see the token trading in early next week and the ICO going live on Saturday. Should you actually take part in the ICO? Well, this is a question which I'm going to answer now, and I did a post in my Discord in the Mars High Club community before this. I don't share everything that I post in the Discord, but I thought this was worth sharing. It gives you a taste of some of the analysis that I post in the Mars High Club, but I think this is also going to help a lot of you guys out, considering I've mapped out some of the scenarios here. So I'll break down whether I think it's worth getting involved in the ICO. I'll break down some of the second and third order effects on the altcoin market, and I'll talk about what I'm doing. The first thing I want to go through is whether you should short the pump token on launch, because there are a lot of people saying that they're going to actually short it when it launches. I personally wouldn't do this. I think it's too risky. Even if it does launch at a super high FTV, remember the market can stay irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So generally speaking, shorting hyped or popular new launches, even if they are hated, in my opinion, isn't a great idea. So that is something that I would be avoiding. Now, in terms of participating in the public sale, if you're bullish on pump, I do think you will be able to see where it lands in terms of FDV on the liquid market without having to take a huge risk in terms of the ICO and then make an educated decision. It also means you take liquidity into your own hands versus participating in the ICO where you don't know where your distribution is going to happen. So they're saying it could be between 24 hours and 72 hours after. There, of course, could be delays. There could be a window where people get access to the token. Pre-market starts trading, perps start trading. So price can be volatile before you even receive your tokens. Not always a super comfortable position to be in. So for the sake of liquidity and for the sake of information asymmetry, I'm personally not going to be participating in the ICO. Now, I will say this. If you are really, really, really bullish on pump, and if you do want to take a risk, I also don't think it's horrible. I don't think the 4 billion valuation is terrible. I do think it's arguably slightly overs for an ICO. If you look at Bonk, they're doing more revenue right now, and they're at 1.7 bill FDV. And Pump has missed the window, in my opinion, in terms of its hype. It would have been 10 bill, right, if it launched a few months ago. But there just isn't that much hype right now, given the fact that, as you can see, the ecosystem stats have been going down and down. And you could see Bonk and some of the other launchpads have taken the lion's share of the market now. If you actually look at the volume for Solana meme coin launchpads now and the daily tokens deployed on the Solana meme coin launchpad. So they've kind of missed the window a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot of it, but I still don't hate the $4 billion valuation if you absolutely have to ape. But still, I'm personally not. I don't think that's the play. I think the play is see where the token lands. If the valuation is low, so if it comes in lower than Bonk, for some reason 1 bill to 2 bill, I think this is an opportunity. Even 3 bill, I think that's an opportunity, because what will likely happen is a lot of the people that got into the ICO at 4 bill are likely going to panic if they see price lower. This could lead to a sell-off, and that could be an opportunity to get in. I also think as price establishes a range on launch day, there could be plenty of technical opportunities to get in and trade the token. This would be a token with a lot of mindshare and a lot of attention, which means that it becomes a pretty good token to trade. Tokens with a lot of attention tend to stick to technicals better than coins without a lot of attention because you have a lot of people looking at the same chart. So obviously once it launches, I'll be doing TA on the show. I'll be doing live TA based on if there are any trade setups in the Mars High Club. So come join, link in the description below if you want live updates and live trades and opportunities, because that's where I post everything first. But I do think there will be opportunities on the trading side. I just personally am not confident getting into the public sale at that valuation. There's also going to be this weird window, I think, where some people get access to their tokens before others and may start selling, which could, cause price to have a slight dip. And then if everyone gets access to their tokens and then there is a bit of an initial sell-off, I mean, there's this whole psychology of people love to invest, but it's the period just after investing that's the trickiest period as a crypto investor, where you're forced to sit on your hands and come to terms with your decision. So naturally, that's going to cause a lot of people that were maybe looking for a quick flip or just got in on a whim to maybe offload, and then this can create buying opportunities. So for me, maintaining liquidity is the best way to go. And if you, as I said, look at the valuations, you got Bonk at 1.7 bill. I do think this ends up landing a little bit higher. I'll become more aggressive in terms of attacking it in terms of buying spot on the liquid market below the 4 bill, and I'll obviously become less aggressive, not really looking to ape if I'm getting in above ICO prices. So if it launches at 7, 8, 9 bill, not really interested getting in at those levels. So that's pretty much my analysis on whether I would buy the token or not. Now, in terms of whether I think this impacts altcoins, this is a discussion that we definitely need to have, and is one of the main things I wanted to talk about today. Because if you look back to the Trump token launch, I think obviously this is embedded in everyone's minds, as it really did mark the top or the edge of the cliff for the altcoin market. And after that, things really did start to take a turn for the worse. You did see quite a big sell-off on chain, and this happened because a lot of people wanted to ape into the Trump token. So they were selling their other Solana memes, they were selling other tokens, and they were buying into the Trump token. And it kind of acted as this liquidity black hole, absorbing all of the excess liquidity in the market and consolidating into Trump. And a lot of those people, and a lot of the people that extracted a lot of the insiders, because you needed to be pretty savvy to get in quite early, they're not going to gamble the money back in the casino. They took the money out of crypto. So the Trump token became a max extraction event. And to make matters worse, we had, Melania coin and all these other coins coming after, which just made it even worse and kind of really was the nail in the coffin for the on-chain casino, because it was quite obvious that it was extractionary by then. So if you just want to look at the data based on the Trump token around January 17th and what happened in the aftermath, we saw 7.5 bill of liquidity go into Trump. Some of that would have been drained from the market. We saw ETH, even, a very big coin, the biggest coin in the market after Bitcoin, go down 8.1%. We saw the meme coin market collapse afterwards, and we saw a lot of on-chain alts actually sell off. I remember seeing double-digit drawdowns across, WIF and a bunch of other meme coins as well. So obviously, when you do have this big event where there's a token everyone's focusing on, you see people, rotating out, and it kind of acts as a liquidity vortex. Now, PumpFun, you have to think about the mechanic here. How do people enter the ICO? They're going to have to put money in to one of the exchange pools. So I think it's on Kraken, it's on Bybit and a bunch of other, BitGet and a bunch of other exchanges. So a lot of people, they don't have a lot of liquidity. They'll be selling other coins. They'll be selling other on-chain alts to put money into the raise. Now, I think the raise is around 600 million because there is a cap on the amount of tokens. So it can't be a 6 billion or a 7 billion, outflow event like it was for Trump. But 600 mil still is a decent amount of capital. So you have to keep in mind there will be some rotation games out of alts into the PumpFun token. Then after it launches, there is a genuine case to be made that it could suck further liquidity out of the trenches, out of Solana, as either VCs that got into pump and sell their pump aren't going to put that money back into the trenches, or people that are trading want to consolidate the exposure that they had to, let's say, Solana or WIF or Filecoin as their pump exposure to the actual PumpFun token itself, which could lead to some sort of extraction event. And I actually talked about this a few months ago. Now, that's definitely something that's on my radar, but I don't want to alarm people into thinking that it's going to be this big collapse for altcoins as soon as PumpFun launches. I actually, as I said in my Discord, think it's either going to be neutral to net negative. I don't personally, and I've thought about the bull case, but I personally don't think until the airdrop, it's going to be a big stimulus for crypto. I personally think it's either going to be neutral or net negative for the trenches until the airdrop. So my outlook would have been slightly different if they were airdropping supply day one, because then there is the argument that it could be some sort of stimulus. Of course, they still need to sell the token to raise liquidity, but then some of those people may actually stay in the Solana ecosystem and sell pump, but gamble the airdrop. But because the airdrop's likely not going to be further down the track, in the short term, I don't think that is a strong argument, hence why I'm leaning either neutral to net negative on-chain and Sol Eco at the time of the PumpFun token launch. Just keep in mind, a lot of people have front-run this trade. So this has been forecasted for weeks now that Pump is doing a token, and there already has been structural weakness across the Solana ecosystem and across meme coins. So there are a lot of people that are actually perp short that may actually close their shorts when the PumpFun token launches. And even if there is some spot selling, people might be closing shorts into spot selling, which balances out the books, meaning that the liquidity effect might not be as bad as some people think, and certainly, in my opinion, won't be as bad as Trump. So I don't think, to summarize in terms of the impact on the altcoin market, that it's going to be a massive black hole, but I do think there will be some rotationary effect or potentially just enough balance of probabilities to be a little bit cautious heading into the PumpFun launch. I wouldn't be taking new positions, for example, heading into the launch. And if it does cause some prices to come down, I think this would be a buying opportunity ahead of the airdrop, which I actually think will be a bullish thing later down the track. Sigma Squared here said, look, it's straightforward. The slot machine players are trying to buy shares in the casino. The slots are going to be empty for a while. It's going to be a draining event. VC's profit on pump token is not coming back to the trenches. And I think, there has already been structural weakness in the trenches, but I think this certainly doesn't help. I can't see how a brand new token coming into the market can aid risk appetite on chain. If anything, I think it drains more liquidity out, balance of probabilities. But let me know what you think in the comments, because that is an interesting discussion. Doc here, who's one of the main contributors in the Mars High Club, has a counterpoint to that thesis. He says, have we run so dry on bearish narratives that we're convincing ourselves that PumpFun launching a coin is bearish, Pepe, Fartcoin, etc., instead of admitting that it's probably just knee-jerk Trump, Melania PTSD? And I wanted to bring this up because this is completely valid, and it's the reason why I'm not mega bearish. I'm mainly just cautious, as I said, neutral to conservatively bearish. And that's because a lot of people still definitely do have PTSD from Trump and Melania, and you do have to accept that these are very, very different events. That was a mass extraction event on a wide scale. This is a singular token happening in the market, which has been heavily forecasted beforehand. The Trump coin was not. So I don't think it's a reason to be hugely, hugely bearish on alts. I think the bigger factor here is going to be whether Bitcoin breaks out. And I did discuss this on yesterday's stream. So if you do want to play catch up in terms of my scenarios, I recommend watching that, because Paradise talked about the top 3, and then we gave a bonus scenario for how we're actually playing the Bitcoin chart. And based on what Bitcoin does, I'm going to do that to play altcoins. So the TLDR is, until we see acceptance above range high, there's no need to go really aggressive in terms of opening new altcoin positions or longs heading into resistance on Bitcoin. In fact, we want to see whether we accept above, because if we don't, it could act as resistance again to take us back down to either the 107K pocket or the 104K pocket. But I still recommend you do watch this video, at least the first 15 minutes, because we go into those scenarios in more depth. And Paradise, admittedly, is a better trader than I am, so he explains it well. So the fate of altcoins, in my opinion, lies more in the hands of whether Bitcoin breaks out and general market seasonality than it does PumpFun. I'm going to be keeping you up to date with this whole PumpFun thing as it launches, as we get new information. I'm going to be posting any trades in the Discord because there's going to be a lot to unpack. There very well may be some opportunities as well. As I mentioned, I'm not getting into the ICO because I want to be a little bit more defensive, maintain liquidity, but there's a genuine chance, if I think that the valuation is enticing on launch, that I actually might long the token. I'm certainly not shorting the token, remember that. I'm either going to do nothing or I'm going to long the token liquid spot. Or maybe pick off some leverage trades once price starts to establish itself in a range. One thing I won't be doing is shorting. unless it was like at a $20-30 billion valuation or something ridiculous, which it won't be. But I just think the risk reward on shorting new token launches just isn't that high in the market right now. So hope you enjoyed this video. Link in the description to the Mars High Club if you want to check it out, if you're not in there already, and also my latest video with Paradise on the channel where we go through some Bitcoin and altcoin scenarios. I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.